down both sides of the stand over there. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know, later on this afternoon or this evening, this stage is going to host our main acts. But I think we have something for you now which will rival the bands, believe it or not, down here. And it will rival Jessie J, and it will rival the Kaiser Chiefs. Because we have a very special and a very moving presentation for you to a very special and very brave dog. Now, a lot of you, I guess, don't know too much about PDSA or what we do. So, just give me a couple of minutes to introduce the charity to you.
Do you want to go and stand in there with Nick?
And I'd like you to join me in imagining that you have a pet that you think the world of. And I can imagine there are lots of you out there today that feel just in that position. But now also imagine that for reasons beyond your control, perhaps because your circumstances changed, you could not afford to take that fantastic pet to the vet. You could not help your pet at the time he or she needs you most, whether he's sick, ill, whether he or she is injured. It doesn't bear thinking about, does it? And so that, indeed, is why the PDSA exists. We're here to help the pets of people in need. And over the last 100 years, we've been doing this. And during that time, more than 20 million pets have come through the doors of our hospitals. And their pets and their owners, who without PDSA would simply have nowhere else to turn to. So all of this happened because of an extremely remarkable and extraordinary woman. Her name is Maria Dickin. She was the founder of the PDSA, and she was a true animal welfare pioneer. She felt and heard the suffering of her own dog and tried to relieve that dog's pain. And through doing that, she started to look more widely, and bear in mind this is 100 years ago, in the slums in the East End of London. And she saw the terrible suffering of so many pets and animals at that time. And she simply decided to change things and to do something about it. So Maria's mission was that the PDSA should be wherever there are pets and their owners who need our help. And it's that mission which a century later we are still continuing through our 48 pet hospitals right across the UK. Quite simply, we're saving pets' lives every single day. So let me now please show you a short video which will tell you a little more about the vital work we do. Thank you.
Video.
Unspoken friendship, without judgment. A reason to get up every morning. Always looking up at you, even when it feels like the rest of the world is looking down. Hairy happiness you can't put a price on. Yet finding the money to feed your pet a proper diet when you're living on a few £100s a month is tough for many. Let alone thousands of pounds for veterinary bills when your pet gets old, sick or charity. Your support would help towards funding treatment and pet wellbeing services in your local PDSA pet hospital. Supporting our vets and nurses will be life-changing for both pets and owners, ensuring they receive the same expert care any family member deserves.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the Director General of the PDSA, Jan McLaughlin, who will take you through the steps leading to this wonderful presentation. Jan.
Thank you, John. Hello, everybody. Come on, you can do better than that. Hello. Brilliant. Walking around the festival here today, it's been really clear to me what an important and special role animals play in all of our lives. That bond that owners, that you have with your dogs, just walking around and seeing that is absolutely unique. Animals can be our best friends, our family, and even our heroes. I certainly can't imagine our home without our dog, Bobby, who's sat in a darkened, cooler place today. But it's important that we all look after our animals because they do play that really, really important part. During World War II, our founder saw animals serving alongside our armed forces, helping protect the lives of...
The prestigious award was instituted. We've honoured dogs, pigeons, horses, and a cat. All showed conspicuous gallantry in the face of conflict, falling bombs, chaos and flames. We've honoured animals for their intelligence and skill, their loyalty and devotion, even laying down their lives for the people they love. But such acts of gallantry aren't only found in war. For those animals who show life-saving bravery and devotion in civilian life, we award the PDSA Gold Medal, the Animals George Cross. And for animals who show outstanding devotion above and beyond ordinary companionship, we award the PDSA Order of Merit, the Animals OBE. Together, the PDSA Dickin Medal, Gold Medal and Order of Merit form the most prestigious animal awards programme in the world, helping us to fulfil our founder's mission to raise the status of animals in society. Without these heroic creatures, countless human lives would have been lost, and countless more blighted. For their bravery or devotion to duty, we will continue to honour them.
So we've got a very special presentation for you now. As you've just seen, the PDSA Gold Medal is the highest honour any civilian animal can receive. And since we started it in 2002, 27 amazing dogs have received this award. Today, here on this stage, we honour number 28. But before then, I want to share Finn's story with you.
Folks an elephant?
I met Finn when he was 9 months old. I'd been given a long list of equipment, different bowls and different combs, and actually all I wanted was to meet my new dog. And out came this bounding lunatic of a 9-month-old puppy who immediately latched onto my trouser leg and tried to take me back off in the direction he'd just come from. We went off on our initial course, which lasts for 13 weeks, and in that course we teach them to be brave and bold. My job is to learn the story that he's trying to tell me. So when we turn up to a crime scene, it's very much my job to watch what he's doing and watch him follow human scent. Basically, we make them drunk on human scent, if you like. We we were called to a job on the 5th of October 2016, and it was a job just like any other. We had no indication that it was going to turn out the way it did. A garden light came on, and a young lad appeared from near the back door, ran to the fence. Finn saw him again, ran towards him, grabbed him by the leg and pulled him down off the fence. And just as I was about to give the young lad the instructions, he lunged forward towards Finn. It wasn't until he relaxed back into that position that I saw the biggest piece of metal coming out of his chest. And it just kept coming and coming and coming, and it was the biggest knife I've ever seen on the street, and it was coming out of my best friend. Dogs are the masters of body language, thankfully. And Finn put himself in the way of the second thrust of the knife, which was coming up and over Finn's head towards me. If Finn hadn't done that, he was aiming for my upper body, my head and my neck. I don't think I would be here now. Backup arrived in the back garden and took hold of the offender. Finn still had hold of the offender. He was still prepared to work until potentially his last breath. His chest was filling with air where it shouldn't have been, which was making it very hard for his lungs to inflate. He had 4 holes in his lung. We then had rushed to the second vet who had a mechanical drain which was able to pull much more air out and keep up with what was being replaced from the holes in his lung. And they managed to stabilise him. And then later on that morning he went through to surgery where he had a 4-hour operation.
All throughout the rest of that day, we were, the whole force I think was on tenterhooks just to understand how Finn was doing and what was happening. We were so pleased when he pulled through that. And we just felt that the actions that he'd taken were in the absolute finest traditions of policing and keeping the public safe. And in Finn's case, also keeping his handler safe.
Well, Finn was a really brave dog, we all know that. He was horribly injured. And the public really got behind him and really wanted us to do something. It seemed only appropriate that he should get a PDSA gold medal. But actually, perhaps the memorial, which is even greater to him, is Finn's Law, which is going through Parliament, which is talking about how we ensure that police dogs are not just another part of property like a police car, but actually are living creatures who, if something happens to them, the people who attack them will get hit properly for what they've done.
His desire to go back to work was huge. 11 weeks and 1 day after the incident, we returned to work for a night shift. So it was like he'd never been away. And he was so, you could see he was so happy, as happy as me, and I can assure you there were some tears shed that night by me. Finn was a very special boy, and all police dogs and service animals out there are amazing, and to see him honoured in this way is it's just wonderful. Isn't it, buddy?
I'm sure you'll agree that's an absolutely incredible story, and understandably, Finn has captured the hearts of the nation. I'm sure you'll agree he's a very worthy recipient of the PDSA Gold Medal. Finn's amazing story has inspired a campaign to give better legal protection to service animals. And to tell us more, I'd like to welcome on stage Sarah Dixon, Director of the Finn's Law campaign.
The video you've just watched tells the tale of courage, bravery and dedication of a police dog, fulfilling the role that we, as society, have tasked him to do. As Rod Evans, specialist veterinary surgeon, has said, Finn is the luckiest and lucky dog alive, and is thoroughly deserving of the honour being bestowed on him today. So what happened to the offender? who attacked Finn with such ferocity?
Absolutely.
I hear you ask.
What?
The answer is, he was found guilty of criminal damage, but he received no penalty for what he did to Finn. Had those injuries been inflicted on Dave, he would have been facing a charge of attempted murder. Under current legislation in England and Wales and Scotland, there are only 2 possible charges that may be used when injuries are inflicted on service animals. The first being causing of unnecessary suffering to an animal. Easy, right? No. The offence was never intended for this purpose. It was intended to protect animals from the abuse from people under whose care they are in. As a result, there is an inbuilt defence which excuses a person from harming animals if that person was afraid that the animal was going to cause harm to them, to others, or the property of others. We refer to this as the defence of fear. Thousands of pounds and many hours of training are invested in service animals to enable them to fulfil particular roles in society. For police animals, prison dogs and border control, this may mean to be intimidating, to create fear. The alternative offence is that of criminal damage, the act of causing damage to property. When I look at Finn, I see a living, intuitive, sensitive being. I see a being responsible for saving lives, protecting the vulnerable, and detaining the criminal. By the legal system, viewing him as mere property, this means he is reduced to an object with a value in pounds and pence only. Nothing more is relevant. His suffering, his training, his results, nothing. The offender in Finn's case was found guilty of 4 offences. Remember, he was armed with a 10-inch knife. He was also carrying an imitation firearm. He caused ABH on PC Wardell. He nearly killed Finn. The sentencing panel determined that the damage caused to Finn was of such low significance that it did not warrant any separate penalty. Think about that for a moment. Totally outrageous. But let me put it to you this. It was not their fault. They had no alternative. Their hands are bound by the legislation. I, for one, am not willing to accept this. Current legislation is woefully lacking and totally inappropriate for such injuries. And be under no illusion, service animals are getting injured every day. Police dog Anya, stabbed. Police dog Theo, bitten. Police dog Ronnie, strangled. Police dog Theo, set on fire. Police horse Illustrious, stabbed in the eye. Police horse MC, fireworks set off in his face. Police horse Quixote, a laser pen shone in his eyes and stabbed in his legs. Police dog Canto, stabbed in the chest. Police dog Canto, by the way, has also received a commendation by the PDSA. PD Quantum, stabbed near the eye. We have been working with Sir Oliver Eald MP, PC Wardell's MP, to call for Finn's Law. A law which will make injuring a service animal a specific criminal offence. A law that will see the UK catch up with many other countries. A law that will mean that all service animals receive the protection and due regard we owe them for the service they provide. A law that will mean that our service animals are not excluded from protection by virtue of the very role we task them to fulfil. The Ministry of Justice stated that the current laws in the UK provide sufficient protection. There is no evidence to support this. They refer to proposed increases for animal welfare offences and brush over a fundamental principle. Unless the state can secure a conviction, it cannot impose any sentence. So I stand before you and ask, does the above sound like sufficient protection to you? Is it sufficient that PD Theo was videoed being bitten in the head and the CPS did not bring charges because there was insufficient evidence? Does it sound sufficient protection that PD Canto was stabbed in the chest and the offender was invited in for caution only? Is it sufficient that the current laws prevented Finn from receiving any justice? We are not asking for anything radical in Finn's law. We are asking for parity. It is immoral that our service animals are excluded from the protection available to our pets because of the very role we give them, a role which they carry out with dedication, loyalty and commitment like no other. As Finn's tale demonstrates, he would sacrifice his life to fulfil this role. Finn was so heroic on that fateful night. He ensured that the Wardale family remained intact. Gemma had her husband and the girls had their dad. Finn continues to be a hero in my eyes. It is my honest belief that Finn and Dave's pairing always had a purpose, and this is it. Finn was sent not merely to protect Dave. He was sent to protect his kind. This is why he has such a regal presence. He has a true life purpose. I am embarrassed and ashamed that society failed Finn when he was at his most vulnerable. It is our responsibility to speak up for those with no voice. Please join us as we continue to fight for our voiceless protectors. Contact your MP and ask them to add their support to the call for Finn's law.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. As you can imagine, Finn is going to go down in history for a couple of reasons. One, let's hope a change in legislation, but the reason that we're all here today is that he will forever be the 28th recipient of the PDSA gold medal. So now, the moment you've all been waiting for, can you please give a huge round of applause as we invite police dog Finn and his handler PC Dave Wardle as we invite them to receive the gold medal. Please welcome Chief Constable Charlie Hall.
Thank you. It's a great honour to be up here on the stage with Finn and his handler Dave Wardell, because you've heard Finn's story and we think it's quite remarkable. We very nearly lost Finn that night back in October 2016, but I think you will agree just how brave Finn was in the actions that he undertook, and it's in the very finest interest, really, of the police service. So we thank the PDSA hugely for recognising Finn's bravery that night. And I also think it's particularly fitting that for the first time the Gold Award is presented at a public event, because Finn was doing his duty that night. I have absolutely no doubt that Finn, in taking that knife, pretty much saved Dave's life, or Dave receiving those stab wounds. So the bravery of Finn was phenomenal. But not only was he there protecting Dave, but the whole point of police being called that night was protecting the community as a whole. And it's through the actions that Finn and Dave and then the other officers that came to support that was able to bring that individual to justice and protect the community in the way they did. There's a few elements of Finn's story I think I would just like to share and reiterate with you. You've seen the significant injury that Finn took. I think what was particularly impressive, that after he had taken that near fatal wound, he did not let go. He kept hold of the individual he was chasing. Vision